short break. We're back. Thank you everybody for your patience. I appreciate it. Wonderful. So as we move forward into your journey as a fellow, I'm really, really looking forward to welcoming you to Israel on August 22nd. So with our sessions for today, we're here to give you to reach three main goals. One, to give you a better understanding of the logistics of the next 8 weeks, what you'll need to bring with you to the airport, what an entry permit is, what happens when you arrive. Two, to leave the session having a greater understanding of your role as a fellow and what values will guide your MITF journey. And three, to connect you to your MITF support system. Oh, excuse me, sorry about that. Someone's sharing their screen. Sorry. Just sometimes, those things can happen. It's all good. Please make sure that you are aware of what you're clicking on, so that way we can make sure to stay on topic and not see anybody's screen. Wonderful. So we really have these three goals, and these are the subjects in which we will cover. And as we go through the session, like I said, if you have any questions, please privately message Ariana, who is here as an MITF alumni, to help speak with you about what is happening. I'm really excited to be welcoming our fellows from all over the world who are going to be joining us this year. I've had the privilege of speaking with so many of you and getting to know you throughout your application. And I'm really looking forward to welcoming you to Israel and visiting you in your cities. Masa Israel Teaching Fellows. It's built up of 6 layers, each layer integral to the success of MITF and to you, the fellow. The first layer we see is Masa. We are an umbrella organization that provides opportunities for long-term and meaningful programs in Israel. If you know someone who spent 4 more months in Israel, they probably spent it on the Masa program. And this is now for you to join the Masa greater community. In addition to funding that's in partnership with the Jewish Agency and the Ministry of Education, Masa also offers additional leadership and community opportunities to Masa fellows. That's you. This is your opportunity to get involved in the greater MITF community, the greater Masa community. So keep an eye out for the opportunities in your inbox that will be coming up to join this greater piece of the Masa community. Now, before we begin, and before we jump into the next slide, I want to give a chance for the director of our program, Yael, to say a few words and welcome you to the welcome session.
Hi everyone, my name is Yael. I'm the director of Masa Israel Teaching Fellows, and I'm very happy and excited to meet you all, the 11th MITF cohort. I wish you good luck, and I can't wait to meet you guys here very soon.
Thank you, Yael. You will be seeing her face and hearing her name as you come into Israel, into the MITF program. I want to share the rest of our team who is joining us here today. We have Anna Singer, who was the director of MITF Pedagogical Development. A question that you might ask Anna, what is the impact of the MITF Fellow? She connects us to the schools and to the teachers and to the work that you're going to be doing in the classroom. Next, we have Donna, who is our MITF Educational Director, and she will be really working on your journey as a fellow. What is the experience? Who will you be at the end of this program? And myself, who you've met, the recruitment coordinator, and really I'm here to connect people to the program, whether it's for this year or next. I'm the person to help give you that connection. Before we begin, before we go on to the next part, I would like to invite Asrat, who is our Masa spokesperson and external relations manager, to speak with us regarding opportunities to share your stories with the greater Masa community and the greater Jewish community as well. Asrat, I will give you the floor and have you speak. Thank you. Asrat, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wonderful, welcome.
Okay, so can I share my my presentation?
Yeah, go ahead. One moment. Go ahead.
Okay, can you see it?
Yes, we're good. Thank
Okay. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Asrat. I'm a SAS spokesperson. And then within the next few minutes, I want to tell you about public relations in Masa, how it's been done, and how do you guys fit in. So a bit really short about public relations. First of all, it's about storytelling. Almost every article you read, any interview you watch or hear is public relations. A spokesperson finds a story, with a bit of a spark and makes it a shiny one. Makes something out of it that you would like to either read or watch on your favorite website, podcast, or TV channel. It needs to be newsworthy. PR fits the news. Like if they're talking about COVID, you better have a good COVID story. Like you came up with medicine or vaccine, or at least initiated an activity for kids in quarantine. And three, it's free. It's not advertisement. It's actually a result of relationship between a journalist and a spokesperson. The journalist searches for stories to write about, and the spokesperson wants to gain positive exposure for his organization, meaning that everybody gains. Why do we need it, you ask? First of all, team pride. You come in here for almost a year. It's a long period, possibly life-changing. We want the Masa Fellows to feel proud by being Masa Fellows, and we want the whole world to know about it. Second reason why we need it, agenda setting. We believe it's crucial to talk about the connection of diaspora Jews to Israel through programs like ours, to put it on the agenda. We even feel that there's a sense of urgency to do that. And of course, if you read or hear about a brand in the media many times, it means that it's important because the media has chosen to talk about it. And third reason why it's important, differentiation. As you probably know, there are many Jewish Zionist organizations who operate in Israel. All of them are doing a great job. All of them are important to the Jewish people, to the state of Israel. But there's only one Masa, and we want people to know about it. And we want them to know the difference between us and other organizations. So where have you might have seen us? First, I need to say that I work especially in Israel and in the States. I have a PR teams both in Israel and in LA. And these you can see only a few of the articles and interviews we have had throughout the years. All of them were published after I either met these MITFers, overheard their stories from their madrichim, rakazim, school co-teachers. Each one is different. Some of them have extraordinary background, country of origin, job experience, family. Some of them just have initiated unique activities for the kids at school or for the communities. And I was happy, of course, to hear their stories and pitch it to the press. And last thing, how can you help? First, I hope all of you have got an email from me last week asking you to share your stories. Thanks so much for those of you who have responded. It's much appreciated. And if you feel comfortable, you can email me or WhatsApp me. I'm going to share my email and my WhatsApp number in a minute. Be in touch with me throughout the year. Don't worry, you'll be seeing me either in summits or parties or any other activities. I'll be visiting schools. So if you don't feel comfortable sharing your story right now, maybe you'll feel more comfortable to share it in person. And last but not least, initiate either, as I said before, activities for your students, for your peers, for your community. They will be appreciated by everyone. Of course, you don't need it. You don't need to do it just for the PR, but keep in mind that good deed echoes better and louder in the media. Thank you very much.
Sorry about that. I'm on mute. Thank you. Wonderful. So Oshra, I sent an email, or most of you received an email from me last week, just explaining a little bit about sharing, your story of your experience in coming to MITF. So we look forward to being in touch regarding your experience and your journey. So let's jump back in. In MITF, we've spoken already. There are dynamic layers of support. The first two being Masa and the MITF team within Masa to help you on your journey as a MITF fellow at large. The next layers of your support team come from within your cities. This is the organizer. The program provider, or as we call it, the organizer, is the organization that will run your MITF experience. Your city is connected to this organizer, which you'll see on the next slide. There are two levels to what the organizer provides, the manager and the Rakaz, the coordinator. We're lucky enough to have our current MITF managers on call with us today, who you'll get a chance to speak to later. So welcome to Gal, Panina, Alon, and Tal. We're really excited and happy to have you here. For those of you who are already aware of which organizer and what the organizer's name is, you can look through and see who the current MITF manager is for your organizer. This will be a really important screen for you, this image for you to solidify in your head. You'll get a copy of this presentation at the end later tonight or early tomorrow morning that will allow you to go over this. So don't worry about memorizing. It's just here for us to talk about today. So the manager, who, like I said, will be really the puppeteer of your city, coordinating the logistics, coordinating between your Rakaz, your coordinator, as well as between cities in your apartments. All of those pieces are wrapped up in the managerial role. Then you have a layer below that, your Rakaz, or in plural, Rakazim, who will be your coordinators on the ground. This is really your person who has the inside knowledge of Israeli culture. They understand MITF. They know where you're coming from as a fellow. They're here to help integrate you into the culture of your city, of your school, and to help you with logistics of your day-to-day. And for instance, if you're not feeling well and you're wondering, how do I make a doctor's appointment? This is something for you to call your Rakaz for. If you have a question about where to go for Chagim, for a high holiday service, they will be a person who can help you. They're really this navigator, this expert navigator in your journey, and they'll be there for you to rely on. Let's break it down a little bit. What does it mean? Organizer, MITF, Masa. I've spoken to so many people. Who am I speaking to? So let's go in one more level. We have our Masa team. You heard from Asrat, who's part of our larger Masa team. You've heard from us, the MITF team, Anna, Yael, Donna, and myself. And I am the recruitment coordinator for all of the cities. So I've been helping you with more general questions and helping you get to the city of your choice. Then when you're a fellow, you come in under the organizer. Now you see Bina, Destination Israel, Flalim is an Israel experience. Under that, you have the managers who we just introduced. Then you have the Rakaz, and then you can see your city. So you can see where you fit into this community of support, into this space of people who are there to help you and connect you to your greater MITF journey, whether that means to Masa, to Israel, to the Makolet, to the corner store in your neighborhood. These are the people who will be there to help you. I would encourage you to take a screenshot of this particular slide and save it as a favorite in your phone. I guarantee you will have questions. Even the most seasoned among us has questions in the day-to-day about the 10 months as a fellow. So this will be your support system and who to go to for which question. If you're ever thinking to yourself, who do I speak to asking about the public transportation system? You can look back onto this and say, okay, I can go to my Rakaz or I can go to my manager. This system is your community. Whether it's Masa, your organizer, or even your roommate, these are the people that you have to rely on throughout your 10 months. You are leaving the comfort zone of your homes, your support system, your community. And so when you come to Israel, when you come on the Masa Israel Teaching Fellows, I just want to remind everybody to make sure that they're muted. Thank you. When you come on MITF as a teaching fellow, you have this other community across the world, across the ocean. There are people here to help support you, whether it's about questions at when buses run after Shabbat, how do I ask for change at a store, or even where the best sunset viewpoint is, you will always have somebody to go to. I would like to now invite Donna to speak about the educational values and principles that will guide you in your MITF journey.
Hey everyone, how are you? Thank you, Vanessa. It's incredible to see 139 of you.
142.
142, sorry, on the screen. It's really so exciting to know that we're going into our 11th cohort. And we're really excited to have you guys here. So before you arrive, there are definitely a few things that we want to go through with you, just to ease your worries, ease your mind, and kind of give you a glimpse of what the next year is going to be about and the journey that you're about to entail. So essentially at MITF, we have 3 guiding principles. We have teach, you'll be amazed at what you'll learn. MITF, connect, thrive, make an impact, and the future is in our hands. Essentially, these are the 3 principles that will guide you through your journey. So what are our essential values of MITF? I'm sure you've heard lots of things about MITF. So we're going to put everything on the table now. We have exploration days. What does that mean? We want to give you the opportunity to explore. You're here for 10 months. Israel's going to be your home. Explore. See what it's all about. We have educational sessions. We have tiulim, which is the Hebrew word for trips. We have events, which are Shabbat weekend getaways. We have community events and holidays. We'll talk about this in the upcoming slides, volunteer work, where you can really feel a part of the community that you live in. Living like a local means living like a local when you're on MITF. Ulpan, which is Hebrew learning, Hebrew language classes, and weekly group sessions with your coordinator or rakaz. So exploration days happen one Sunday a month. We have a requirement for our MITF fellows to volunteer 5 weekly hours in addition to their 25 hours in school. We have 2 Sundays a month, which are program organizers and program providers. They deal with the educational aspect of the program, and they organize amazing Sundays. They call them Sunday Fun Days, and they really are that. In Ulpan, you have 2 weekly hours. With your coordinator, you will meet with them 1 weekly session 3 times a month, sorry. And outside city trips once a month. So what does a month in the life of an MITF fellow look like? You might ask. Here you go. Essentially, you have your Sunday programming, you have the opportunity to volunteer. Your organizers will provide you with a few options in the city, but I really encourage you all to go out and look and explore what interests you, what's something that you want to spend your time doing. You have your weekly meetings with your coordinator, and of course you have your events and your trips and your added value Masa and organizer activities.
Great, thank you, Dana. I would like to pass it over to Anna, who is our pedagogical guru and director of MITF.
Hi, guys. Now, before I go into the formal things, I just want to take you make a step back to what Dana was saying about the 3 components, actually, of the key components of MITF. Number 1, she said, you will be amazed at what you learn. And believe me that Israeli school, any school probably in any country, but an Israeli school is the mini Israeli society, okay? You will learn a lot about the Israeli society, about the different people in it, about the values, about the behavior, about the rules of the game. Everything will be reflected in the classroom. The second thing that Dana mentioned is the impact. Now, the impact that you will be making on those kids' lives, keep in mind, it will not be visible right away. Because as you know, education is a process and it's a long process. And you will probably not see all the results of your work during this year. But the impact that you will make on these kids will be huge, and try to remember it. And the third thing is that the future is in your hands. And it really will be in your hands, because now I'll go to what's written here on the screen. You will be inside of the school 24 hours a week. 25 hours a week in 4 days. Okay? Sundays will always be devoted to the educational activities. You will not be, Sundays will be off school, okay? Not off the program, but off your school. And there will be another day that you will have off, which depends on the day, on the schedule of the specific school where you will be placed. Okay? Now this is the time to remind you that in Israel, as of now, Fridays are a work day and in schools, okay? And there is school on Friday. So it's very possible that you may have, let's say, Sunday off and one of other days of the weekdays off, but you may be working on Friday. The other thing that says that now preparation for your work in the classroom. Now, before we go there, I must say that you will be placed in a school and you will be assigned a host teacher. This host teacher is your support system inside the school. This person will be in charge of all you do in school. They will organize the schedule for you. They will make sure you know who to work with, which kids to work with, what to do with them. And when I said before that the future is in your hands, you must keep in mind that this teacher is a regular teacher in school. They are a very busy person. And you are not the only thing, not the only assignment, okay? So the future is really in your hands. Make sure that you get from your host teacher everything you need. All the support you need. It's your responsibility. Preparation for your work in the classroom. In order to prepare, in order to know what to do, you need to know who you will be working to, when, and so on. And this information you will be getting from your host teacher. If you don't, make sure you do. The future, as we said, is in your hands. Now, communicating with your host teacher is actually key to success. You will see 25 hours a week is a lot of time. It will be the major part of your program. Most of the time you will be in school. And it's most important that you have a good working relationship with your host teacher, and make sure this happens in the beginning. Establish a working relationship with them. And if you are having difficulties, we are there to help you. Okay, please turn for help. Pedagogical support, what we mean by pedagogical support is we have a digital platform, which is called a toolbox, okay, pedagogical toolbox. There are a lot of activities there, suggestions for activities that you can do with children. They're based on the curriculum, they're based on the level of the children, on the grade, on the level, and all of this will be your pedagogical support as far as what to do with kids, but you are always should be guided by your host teacher. Don't forget that. And this is the most important part of your pedagogical work. We will go in more detail once you arrive here, but I think at this point, this is enough for you to know. And of course, we are looking forward to seeing you and for you to have this. I can promise that your work with kids will be very memorable, will be very impressive for you. It will make you feel very good. You will be excited. They will be excited. You will be a great attraction to them, and it will be the major experience.
Toda Rabba, Anna. It's really wonderful to hear from you, as you have just an amazing experience under your belt and seeing what MITF can do for the fellow and the student. A really cool, amazing note that I just also wanted to share is that, like Anna said, your work and your impact might not be something that you necessarily get to see the immediate result of, but know that it will take for in the long run. And the example of that is that we have 2 girls who work in the office here as Banot Shehut, so this is their national service for Israel, and one of them had an MITF fellow in her classroom. So she's here as an 18-year-old working alongside me as I'm working with MITF, and it's been so wonderful to learn from her that she's still in touch when her fellow comes to visit. She hosts her, and that connection is still going 10 plus are 8+ years later. So this is really something that is amazing that you're going to be a part of. And the next thing I also want to focus on, which we're going to actually go into in the next slide regarding volunteering, is that this year is really you get out what you put in. If you're showing up to class every day and you're just putting in the hours, that's one way of having the fellowship. But really those who see the most success are those who get involved in their classrooms, get involved in their communities, and don't just take a back seat. So I'm going to pass it back to Dana, who's going to speak just about that, about how to get involved in the community and what that experience looks like.
Hi again, it's me. So we talked about 5 hours of a week of volunteering. Now, why is this so important? Not only for the community in which you'll be living in, which you'll be calling home for the next 10 months, plus 6 weeks, but for our fellow. This is an incredible opportunity to integrate into Israeli society, to see firsthand and to live, not just to be in Israel, but to live Israel. And so we really encourage, like Vanessa and Anna mentioned, for you to take matters into your own hands, take something beyond, go above and beyond, do something that interests you. If you come from a fashion background, we have someone who was teaching English through fashion. We have people that were teaching English through music. We have people that were that volunteered this past year at IGI, which is a youth organization in Tel Aviv for LGBTQ plus the community, but younger adolescents. We have so many different options, so many different things that our fellows can do, and we're here to help. Our organizers, our program providers, Vanessa, myself, we're here to help you find the best fit for you to make this year as meaningful and as valuable as possible. And I want to kind of expand on the connection. We talked about, you're thriving and you're impacting, but you're also connecting. And this is your time and this is your opportunity to connect to the people that may need you most. And that's really what you chose to do with these 10 months of your life now, to be with people who need you the most. It's not a secret that this world just went through a really, really crazy, traumatic experience with this pandemic. And now is the time to make yourself the best that you can be through helping others. And we're here to help you and guide you along that way.
Thank you so much, Dana. Something that I really enjoyed in my work as the recruitment coordinator is learning about the experience of fellows from the past, from alumni, from current fellows, and hearing the volunteering stories have definitely been some of the really moving experiences. Volunteering, I think, can be taken in two directions. One, to reflect passions that you have outside of the classrooms. You're coming from a variety of so many different hobbies and experiences and backgrounds and interests. This is your time to enjoy Israel and to step into something that you know and love. It's also an opportunity to do something different. You've always wanted to work with animals. You've always wanted to work, in a home for the elderly. Whatever it is, this is your 10 months to do that. These are your 10 months to take whatever it is that you do in your day-to-day, your typical life, and put it on pause. It's really going to be about asking yourself, what do I want out of this year? And who do I want to be experiencing this year with? Okay, so everyone take a second. Stretch, we just sat through a lot of really exciting information that has to do with the 10 months of your time in Israel, what it's in the classroom, who's going to be there to support you and to give you answers and to give you guidance, who's going to be there to support you when you're feeling emotionally, when you need help emotionally, when you need help mentally, when you need help physically. Now we're going to go into a little bit of the nitty gritty. So we're about to launch into preparing for your arrival. And we're going to work our way up to that August 22nd date. And this will be the time that if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, as a reminder, please send them to Ariana, and she will help send them, filter them to me, and I'll be able to answer them at the end of this part of the presentation. So I appreciate your patience as we head into this big chunk of information. Okay, so as we've learned in the past, almost 2 years, as an MITF program, is that the MITF staff and fellows must be extremely flexible to the dynamic situation of this world pandemic. You've been experiencing it in your homes. We've been experiencing it here in Israel. And now they come together as you come into Israel as an MITF fellow. Even amidst the pandemic, though, the work of our MITF fellows has been crucial to not only us at Masa, but also the Ministry of Education. We were able to work in partnership with them to continue bringing in fellows. We were the only organization as Masa to bring in fellows in 2020. And Masa really, they opened the skies and they made it possible to connect to our fellows to Israel and to really continue the impact of this fellowship. And this is really the level of dedication that we have to our fellows and to the fellowship. And you know, the current COVID-19 situation is changing weekly and sometimes even daily, as we'll get to in a moment. And as the Ministry of Health updates their regulations based on current events and scientific findings and research, these things will change. And especially with the new variant spreading globally, we do anticipate that there will be additional changes as we come on to the opening date of the program. And we appreciate your patience and understanding as we work to bring you into Israel in the safest way possible. And that's really our priority, your health and safety and the health and safety of our fellows and our greater MITF community. This is what our priority is as we launch into the journey of arriving to Israel. So we have a few steps, 4 to be exact, which will turn into more than 4 in just a moment, as you'll see. But these are the really big steps of prepping for your arrival to August 22nd. Now, again, this presentation will be sent to you in the next 24 hours. So you'll be able to refer back to it, but feel free to screenshot and take notes as we go through with it. But again, these are all as currently updated as the Ministry of Health has put out the regulations as of today. If tomorrow that changes, we will let you know. Your recruitment coordinators will let you know as they have been. So please keep that in mind as we go through these next few slides. What do I need to do before my flight? Besides your packing and, you know, the saying goodbyes and printing photos for your room, there's also a few logistics that you'll need to go through. As of today, according to Israeli law, these are the steps that you'll need to take in order to enter into Israel. A very important piece to focus on is taking a COVID test within 72 hours of your flight. Now, I've heard horror stories of people waiting for 24 hours before their flight, and then they're waiting in the airport, no results in hand, just a receipt of a test. So really, please make sure that you abide by the 72-hour rule and to ensure that you have the smoothest arrival as possible. The next step is an arrival form from the Ministry of Health. That's what MOH stands for, is Ministry of Health, that you'll need to complete within 24 hours of your flight. Now, this I can say from personal experience. I arrived to a trip without doing this 24 hours, and it was a very stressful experience, and I would not recommend it. So please make sure that this is completed 24 hours before you leave your flight from your home airport. So when you check into your flight, they'll ask you what your destination is, and they'll ask for all of these things even before you get onto any connecting flight that has the end destination of Israel. We will also be sending an additional COVID-19 related packet that will have these links and this information also written out very clearly with clickable links. So that way you don't have to worry about writing down this website. It's just for you to understand the process. Once you fill in all the details, and we'll get to the next step as well, you'll get an approval for boarding. Now, with everything that we're speaking about, it's really critical that you keep a both digital and physical copy. You never know which one you're going to need, and I guarantee you, you're always going to need both. I also want to make a point of welcoming Amir, who is our Chief Security Officer on this call today. He is working tirelessly and effortlessly, or with a lot of effort, but seemingly effortlessly, to bring our fellows into Israel in the safest and most efficient way possible. He's one of my first contacted on my WhatsApps. He and I work very closely together to ensure your safe arrival. So one of the pieces that you will need to complete as a future fellow, as a fellow of MITF, is ordering a PCR test. Now, this is a recent update from the Ministry of Health. So this is one of those dynamic changes that we're working with currently. And one of those is that you order and pay for your PCR test, the rapid test, online and prior to arriving to Israel. If you do it online, you'll get the discounted price of 80 shekels. If you pay for it in person, it's 100 shekels. You can see the difference in different dollar amounts from different parts of the world where our fellows are from. So it's really in your best interest to do this, to pay for it beforehand, but it definitely needs to be ordered beforehand. So this receipt of payment and order needs to be done prior to your arrival to Israel, so prior to your flight out of your home state or country that you're leaving from. Again, all of this will be put into a document that you will be sent afterwards, and Amir will help keep this updated along with myself and the rest of the MITF team with your organizers as well, to make sure that you're receiving the most updated information as this changes. The next step is the entry permit. Now, you all received one of the many updates that the Ministry of Education has allotted, as well as in very amazing work that is done by Masa with the help of Amir as well, to provide this entry permit instead of you applying for the visa. So again, this is not a visa. This is the way that you're going to be entering the country. Now, again, thanks to the hard work of Amir within the Masa team, we're able to, your organizer is able to coordinate this for you. And what this means is that you'll receive an entry permit a few days prior to your flight. It could be 2 days, it could be 3 days, but typically it's in the 2-day range. So don't worry, as the date gets closer, your organizer and the manager will make sure that you have this entry permit prior to your arrival. Now, once you arrive, you will be applying for a visa, which we'll get to in a moment. But this is not something that you will do. It's something that you'll need to bring things with you in order for it to be completed. The one thing that I want to make sure that is really, really important is that this blue slip that you see at the bottom of the page, sometimes it's green, I think most of the time it's blue, but it's an entry slip. It's an entry to it's a slip that proves your arrival as a non-citizen, and this will be crucial in your visa process. The second you get this, as you enter into the airport, take a photo of it. We ask that you have both a physical and digital copy, because again, you'll always need both at some point, but immediately take a photo so that if nothing else, we have record of it. Now this goes to your visa. So now, instead of having your visa obtained before you arrive, your visa will be applied for and obtained once you arrive to Israel. Masa provides this connection between the organizer and the Ministry of Absorption, and so we're able to have this visa taken care of while you're in Israel. What does that mean, and what do you need to bring? So you can see these 6 important pieces of the visa documentation, and the first one is a passport. Everyone will be coming with that. You won't be able to travel without it. I'm not worried. The second piece I do want to focus on is that you need your original birth certificate or a copy with an apostille. Now, an apostille is not the same as a notary. A notary is, a signature or a stamp saying that this is a legitimate document. An apostille is a page that is attached to your to the copy of your to the original birth certificate that you present.
Vanessa, we not need the apostille, so you can forget it. Only the notary. Yeah, this is one of the latest updates.
Great. See, this is why Amir is amazing, and he is here to provide us with answers to that. So you will not need the apostille. So Amir, does that mean that they'll be able to bring a copy of the birth certificate?
Yeah, a copy, but it's supposed to be with a notary statement that this is like the original.
Great. So then, as we've now been updated, you can see how dynamic and ever-changing this process is, and we're really here to give you the most updated answers. So toda rabah, Amir, on that. So you will not need an apostille. You can get a notary, which is, again, that signature or stamp that says that this is a legitimate document. You'll have your Masa proof of participation letter, which you already have a digital copy in your portal. Again, this entry slip to take a picture of and to keep a physical copy. And as a reminder that this is not a process that you will need to do on your own. You'll have a lot to do once you arrive in Israel, and the most important role in the visa process for you will be to bring this paperwork with you. Again, you'll get this as this presentation sent to you, so you'll be able to see it more clearly, and I will update it so that it does not include the apostille, and you can simply get a notary. All right, so now we're working our way up to August 22nd. We've now worked our way through the airport, almost your arrival to Israel. I just want to take a step back and look at everything that you need to bring with you. And again, as Amir updated us, you do not need to have the apostille page, just a notary. But these are all pieces that you'll need to bring with you. And we'll get to the serological test in a moment, but I just want to bring attention to number 7, that your proof of vaccination will be necessary. However, it is not the last thing that you'll need to do in order to prove that vaccination. So just understand that this is something you'll need to submit to your organizer, just so that we have it on record, but I'll get to it in a moment, that we'll need to take this next step of the serological test. And this will all be sent in another document, not just this presentation, but also according to updated COVID regulations. All right, we have worked our way through airports. You have flown from your home to Israel. You have arrived. What happens? I want everybody to take a moment. We'll walk through these steps, but take a moment to look at what these first 2 weeks, the first day all the way through September 1st will look like as a fellow. Those first few days are exciting, they're nerve-wracking, they're exhausting. I know that jet lag is real. Coming from California, anytime I come back, that like 10-hour gap is pretty rough. So it's a time for you to get adjusted. So once you arrive in Israel, you'll have to do a few different test process, as we explained, the PCR test, which you will have ordered prior, transportation, which will be coordinated by your organizer's manager, as well as your rakaz, your coordinator. And those details will be given to you as we get closer to the start date of the program. Do not worry, we got you, and you will have support in that as well. Let's just wait as it gets a little closer for us to give you the most updated information. Now, once you arrive at your apartment, you'll have a serological test. Now, as I said, this is a test that will be coordinated through your organizer. And I want to make a point to also point out that this serological test tests antibodies that are obtained through getting the vaccine or recently recovered COVID patients. Studies show that with these serological tests, about 95% of vaccinated individuals will show antibodies. That does mean that there is a 5% of people who will not have positive antibodies, meaning it'll show negative, meaning that you'll have to be into a government mandated quarantine. Now, this is a possibility. Again, it's for your health, your safety, the safety of those around you, as well as the safety of those who you'll be working with. These are subject to change as the Ministry of Health comes out with more guidelines that are reflecting the current situation and current events. So please keep that in mind as well. So you see that we have get serological test, then you quarantine in your apartment until you receive the test results that are desired. So then you'll have two options. You see the top section is if you don't receive the desired test results, and the bottom is if you do. However, that being said, even if you go into quarantine, everybody will be participating in a 10-day program to get yourself acquainted with the session, to have sessions to get you acquainted with your cohorts and to the MITF program at large. So what does that look like? You'll have the first 14 days, your arrival on August 22nd, which you've just been through, and then you'll have these 10 days, which will have programming both virtually for those who are in quarantine, in bidud is the word in Hebrew. But whether you're in person or in quarantine, you will have access to these sessions to meet together and to learn about who it is that you're working with, who it is that you're going to be teaching with, and who it is that you're going to be living with, both in your apartment and outside. It's really to prepare you for the journey of being a fellow. And this all culminates in the opening seminar on September 2nd, which we are very excited and very much looking forward to. It's a time to come together as an MITF cohort, not just on screen, but in person. And we'll get to really meet together and see who this community is that we're going to be a part of and that you're going to be a part of as well. The next steps moving forward into your journey as a fellow will start really be getting prepared, whether that means packing lists, deciding which photos you want to bring, if you want to get the adapters for the voltage, all of these things. We've seen that you've asked for it, and we've put together this guide based on this upcoming year, as well as collecting tips from the past few years of alumni, asking, where's the best place to get camping gear? Do you recommend, having an application to split bills with your roommates? All of these things are pieces that I have collected and the MITF has collected to give to you as you launch into your MITF journey. So keep an eye open for the next 48 hours or so to receive this guide. And I think it'll really give you a good perspective on how to get in the mindset, what to get in the mindset for, and what there is to be expected out of the many amazing aspects of MITF. Toda rabah for sitting through and listening and being engaged. And I'm so happy that we were able to be joined by our MITF team as well as our team members from Masa. A few things before we switch into the next part of the session. One is that we will see you on August 8th. This will be a much more interactive session where you'll get to see and speak to your cohorts, get to know each other a little bit, and to get a chance to really see your community. So I look forward to welcoming you there. And at this time, I'd be happy to answer some of your questions that you have been asking throughout the session. After this, we will also then switch into breakout rooms that will allow you to speak to the manager and the recruitment coordinator of the city that you are going to be joining, and you can ask them their specific questions as well. So the first question that we had someone asked is about if someone is arriving earlier, can they stay with family, or does this affect MITF quarantine? It's a great question. It's really important that this is very clear, is that your entry permit will allow you to enter the country on the 22nd. This is a work that Amir has done with the Israeli government to allow our fellows to come in. And so this August 22nd date is going to be a very a strong start date. If you have a question on that or are confused about what that means, feel free to email me. But there's really not an option at this time to arrive earlier, as the current laws of the Israeli government are that tourists or there's no visa holders, there aren't tourists right now outside of the program that you're in. So the program start date is the 22nd. That is when we will be arriving. Again, if you have any questions about that, please email me separately, and I will be happy to address your problems. Your entry permit, when are we receiving the entry permit? That will be sent to you a few days prior to the start date of the program. So what that means is that your city organizer is in touch with Amir, sending over your information, ensuring that your passport numbers are correct, your first names are spelled properly, your last names are spelled properly, and then your entry permit will be sent to you within 2 to 3 days of the program starting. And if you have any questions on that, please refer to your recruitment coordinator as they will be able to help direct you. If someone doesn't pass the serological test, you will need to go into quarantine, and this housing will be provided for you by the organizer that you are working with. If you're an Israeli citizen, you do not need an entry permit to enter into the country. However, this will be something that you need to speak with your recruitment coordinator about, who will also possibly have you speak to your city's manager, so you can understand what the regulations are if you do hold an Israeli passport. So the question is about the PCR test. This is the simple Q-tip up the nose and another Q-tip in your throat, and just to test if you have COVID, and that will give the results of positive or negative within a 24-hour period. When you arrive to the airport, as I mentioned before, there will be transportation provided, and that is something that your recruitment coordinator will pass on to you as we get closer to the start date of the program. There's also regulations that are within the airport as well that we also have to abide by. And so as we get closer to the start date, we'll be able to give you the information of if you're meeting inside, if you're meeting outside. All of these things are subject to change, so we'll be able to give you the information as it gets closer to the start date. I have some great volunteering questions. I really encourage you to speak to your organizer and the manager in just a moment. So if you have a question about where you can volunteer, you have to do it in your city. If you can do it outside of your city, speak to your city organizer about that, and they'll be able to give you specific suggestions and advice, as they will be the one helping you find your volunteering experience. Dress code in Israel. This is a great question. This is something that will be addressed in the MITF guide, as I mentioned a moment ago. And because you won't know your school placement until you arrive, we ask that you bring appropriate clothing for both a little bit more modest, and as well as, being able to wear t-shirts and pants comfortably. So we'll send out a specific study guide, or sorry, a packing list in your MITF guide that breaks this down a little bit more and will give you some more concrete examples. Someone asked a question about a background check. Please email me about this separately, mitf@masaisrael.org, and I will be happy to answer your question there. The next thing that I would like to address as well is a question about international travel. So right now, according to Israeli law, there is no international travel for those who are coming in as participants on the program. As a fellow, you will not be allowed to travel outside of Israel. Now with like we said, the changes that the Ministry of Health are facing and what they're updating with their regulations, we will update you as soon as possible, but we should act on this year in the sense that we are not able to travel outside of Israel at this time. If you have any questions about an earlier arrival, that will be important to speak with your city's organizer, as your arrival and transportation from the airport to your designated housing will need to be addressed by your organizer, as they will be providing you with that information. Wonderful. I really appreciate everybody taking the time to be here and to be engaged and listening. I'm really, really looking forward to not only on August 8th to be able to bring everybody together to speak and get to know one another, but also to welcome you at the airport on August 22nd. I will be at the airport along with some other Masa representatives to welcome you, maybe get you some swag, get you excited to see a familiar face. It can be a lot to fly all those hours into a country that maybe you know one person, maybe you don't know anybody, but no matter what, you'll know myself, you will know Vanessa standing at the airport, waving, excited to see you. My curls will probably be huge with the humidity in Tel Aviv, and an even bigger smile on my face, getting to welcome you all. It's been really wonderful getting to know you in this process. And at this time, please stick around and I will help put you into breakout rooms with